Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. We're holding today in Chulin Daf Ayin Vov. We're going to be starting in the Mishnah on the top of Amud Aleph. Look at the Mishnah. Peima shenichtichu regleo minar kuvo v'lamato cheiro minar kuvo v'lamalo psula. So in order to understand the Mishnah, right, as Rashi gives us a Hagdama, and he tells us like this: in the thigh of the animal, there's three bones. There's a top bone, there's a middle bone, and there's a bottom bone. The way he calls it, there is the arkuva, which is the bottom bone, arkuva. Then you have the middle bone, which is called etzem haimtzoi, the middle bone, and above that you have the top, which is called kulis. So kulis, etzem haimtzoi, arkuva. Okay, that's what Rashi calls it. In the etzem haimtzoi, in the middle, towards the bottom of the etzem haimtzoi, you have what's called tsoimis hagidim. Tsoimis is, even in modern Hebrew, not exactly, but tsoimis means sosu. Modern Hebrew, tsoimis means intersection. So it's the connection of sinews that are next to that are there. The sinews connect or meet.
Joint. It says joint.
Joints. You're right. Maybe joints. Means joints. They meet at the bottom of the middle bone. Okay. So now the Mishnah tells us. The Mishnah is not so clear. We're going to have to see the Gemara in Mechalik and understand this. If you go over the bottom, arkuva, ksheru. Above the arkuva is pasul. And as well, if tsoimis hagidim, the connection of these joints is going to be treif. Nishbar etzem, if the bone broke, if the meat, the flesh is still there, shchita still works. If the bone broke and the flesh was removed, this is the case that we saw on Sunday, which is called etzem hameduldo. Dula means it's the semi-connected limb. What? Hanging. It's up. That's Ever Medul. I mean, the bone is broken and the meat is removed. That's Ever Medul. That's what Rashi says. Okay. So that's what the Mishnah addresses. As long as you have the flesh, it's okay. If not, it's Ever Medul. Says the Gemara. Omar Yudo Marav Omar Chio Lemato Lemalo Minar Kuvo Lemalo Minar Kuvo Bezo Al Kuvo Amru Bar Kuvo Nim Keres Imarish. So, meaning, he's explained the Mishnah. When the Mishnah says that if the legs are below the arkuvo, is kosher, is below the bottom bone of the thigh. That's the arkuva we're referring to. Above the bottom arkuva, the bottom bone, it's treifa. Right? That's what it is. So we're talking about right below the third one. The matra kuvo is kosher, and above is pasul. Above the bottom bone. What is sitting right above the bottom bone? Tsoimis hagidim, right? Because you have the bottom bone, as I said, you have the middle bone above it, and then you have the top bone. In the bottom of the middle bone, you have the tsoimis hagidim. So I'm telling you that above the arkuvo, which means above the bottom bone, is pasul. Means right away you're reaching the tsoimis hagidim. Okay. This arkuva, which is the bottom bone, is the one which is common. How do we differentiate which bone we're talking about? Because this is the one which is sold with the head. It's common that you sell the head of the animal together with the bottom bone of the thigh. Good. No. We're not talking about the bottom. When we say arkuva over here, we're not talking about the bottom bone. We're talking about kenegdoi bagomol nikor. He holds arkuva here as arkuva elyon, as the top bone. The top bone, the Rashi calls it kulis. That's what he calls arkuva. In the camel, where the camel walks, the top bone protrudes out from the 3 bones of the thighs. The top bone is sticking out. You see it in the camel. So what by camels is sticking out, that's the arkuva we're talking about, which means the top bone. Below that is possible. So Ulo tells Avyudo, Ulo is the second shita. Tells Avyudo is the first shita. According to me, that we talk about the top bone. Tzarvis Hagidim is in the bottom of the middle bone. So I told you that the top bone is where you have differentiating. It's really from the top bone below is kosher. Middle bone, bottom bone, it's good. Tzarvis Hagidim is an exception. So I understand why I'm mentioning Tzarvis Hagidim, because Tzarvis Hagidim is in the area which is kosher. The only problem, according to Ulo, is only the top bone, the top third called, top third of the thigh. That's a problem of treifa. Below that, meaning from the top third downwards, there's no issue. So what do you have? You have the middle bone, and you have the bottom bone, and that's all not treifa. So Mesagidim is one area, which is the bottom of the middle bone. I'll tell you that is special. That's unique. There is treifa over there.
How does that work? You're talking about something that's separate.
It's what?
That's something that's cut off. It's separate.
Right. The question is, where was cut off? Let's get to that. I want to get to that. It's a question really of the Gemara to a certain extent. Elo Didoch tells Ulo to Rabbi Yehuda, according to you, my v'chenshi that Tzarvis Hagidim, what you said doesn't make sense. Because you said that anything above the bottom third is treifa. Tzarvis Hagidim is in the area which is above the bottom third, because it's the end of the middle bone. You said anyway it's treifa, so why tell me Tzarvis Hagidim? Once you hit the top of the bottom bone, everything above that is treifa. So Tzarvis Hagidim is included. Why have to tell me Tzarvis Hagidim? My b'chenshi that Tzarvis Hagidim. Omerlei rekuva below Tzarvis Hagidim, v'Tzarvis Hagidim below rekuva. So I'll tell you what. You can have one of the two. You can have the bone. I cut the bone off. And you're right. And it's already treifa. But if I did not cut off the bone, I just removed the joints, that's a chiddush, that's treifa as well. Says the Gemara, it says it was cut. Not sure, it wasn't just removed that area. The whole thing was cut. Ishtik. It was quiet. Why didn't tell him? So I'll tell you. I'll explain to you the Mishnah according to me. When it says that below is kosher, it means below the third part. I think, if I remember correctly, we should say, and the third part. Third part and below is kosher. When it says lemala is treifa, it doesn't mean right away above. You have the bottom third, middle third, right from here, it becomes treifa. No. It means above Tzarvis Hagidim, which means the top third. So I have 3/3. I'm telling you, this area is kosher. This area is treifa. Here, it depends. Tzarvis Hagidim will be, which is the bottom, is treifa, and above that is kosher. Maybe that's the pshat. That's what it means lamah. So that's what he says. That's what I could have answered him. So he says, so again, the bottom of the north, my time alone, why didn't I tell him? Lemato means below the akuv. Above means above Tzarvis Hagidim. And Tzarvis Hagidim itself, it depends. Did I tell him? I did say that it's a problem. He says nichtuchu. He says the Losh, it says min arkuva v'lamal. I say arkuva means the bottom third. So the minute I say min arkuva v'lamal, mean mashma immediately from arkuva v'lamal, not way above that. So why right above the bottom third, it really becomes a problem. So in other words, if you want to medayik from the Mishnah, the Losh of the Mishnah, you have to be, you see that he's very medakik Losh Mishnah. The diktuk Losh Mishnah mashma, that above is a problem, immediately above, not way above. Rabbi says the following. Below the akuva mitzvah segidim, there it's kosher. Lemalo min akuva mitzvah segidim. Above the akuva mitzvah segidim, so then it's treiful. V'chen shenita mitzvah segidim. Akuva gufu keduulo. What is akuva? Akuva is like ulo. What is akuva? The ula says it's. How does ula learn? Ula learns. We're talking about the top part. That's what ula learns. So below the akuva mitzvah segidim, meaning going to the third below, then it is kosher. Above the akuva mitzvah segidim, which means the top third, that's puzzle. And so he's getting also. Another similar to what we said before, just he's learning like ula. So he's saying, I did not refer to the middle third. I refer to the top third and the bottom third. Top third is straightforward. Bottom third is kshevu. Middle third depends where. So answer Shai the question. This is maybe the question that was bothering Binyamin. We can do the lumadle plasikle v'chayu. Matde plasikle v'meiso. It's not going to be. If I cut the leg above Tzayim Segidim, I cut it. So then you say the animal is not treiful. I cut the leg below Tzayim Segidim and the animal is treiful. How can that be? That's really your question, right? In other words, how can it be I'm going higher and I cut, I mean, everything else below it's cut in a higher place. It's treiful. And below that it's going to be higher. It's not treiful. And below that it's treiful. So this comes the rule that you can't compare. You can't say, oh, it's a higher place. It's not exactly. You understood if you sever it, it's down. Not severing. You have a hole in it. In other words, the leg is still there, but there's a hole in the arkuva, in the thigh. What we're saying is that although you have a hole in the arkuva, don't worry about it. Why not? Because we're saying the fact that it's higher or lower, that would not indicate. The Gemara says we find other places. This is one of the examples of the places we do that Rashi brings throughout the Masechta. But in other places, the simonim and the shoulder. If you cut the shoulder, which is a much bigger place and higher, the animal is not treiful. You cut the simonim, the animal is treiful. So you see, it depends where it is. So also you say the same thing. What is tzayim segidim? What is it? Rabba Mavashi the agrumo v'lebar, from the bone and above. Now here it's hard. I looked at the pictures. I'm still not 100% clear how exactly it looks like. But Rashi explains the agrumo v'lebar. Rashi says that the gidim come out from the bone and they go into the meat. And there's an area where the bone is exposed. So from there above, that's where it starts, the area of tzayim segidim. There above. That is Ravashi. Rabbi Baravuna, that's Rabbi Ravashi. Rabbi Baravuna Ravashi, he said, it's the area of the bone and below that, meaning where the bone is exposed. Not above it, below it. So according to Rashi, they're arguing two different places. The Rosh learns a little differently. The Rosh learns that the first shita includes the second shita. What is Arkumo? Arkumo is a small bone. And above that, everything is service segidim, which means he's including both shitas. So according to Rashi, it's either above the bone or below it's above the exposed bone, below the exposed bone, or both. Service segidim. Says the Gemara, says exactly where you have the Arkumo, which is the bone which connects the bottom third and the middle third. Amalei Rabbi Abel, but that's a titulate. Don't listen to him. It's where the butchers usually open up. And that's the one above that we said before. Okay. Omar Yudom Shmuel, Soim Sagidim Shomru, Mokoim Shagidim Soimsim. It's where the Gidim, these three joints, connect together. Ve'at Kamo, until where? Omar Rabban Rabbi Yaakov Shmei, Kevinu Rabbi Yudah Omalan, Shomu Mani Milso, listen to me. Timikabu Rabbi Shmuel, I read from Odom Chashu, Umar Shmuel, Tzoy Sagidim Shom, Mokoim Shagidim Soimsim, where the Gidim connect together. From there until where they start spreading out. How much is it? It's 4 fingers in a big animal. What about a small animal? You have to go with a simon. You don't have exactly shear. Bliti, if it's sticking out, Bli, it's swallowed, Ashuni, if it's hard, it's Rikichi, soft, Alimi, if it's thick, it's Gidim. Ktini, thin, Gidim. Chavi, if it's white, it's Gidim. Loi Chavi, Gidim. There's a different simon to know what it's Gidim they're referring to over here. Continue going down, that I involve with base. It doesn't have to be completely white. When it gets a little more lighter, when it gets lighter, tzalul, it's already considered to be Gidim.
These all these shitas, these are not those 3 shitas, Milbar, Milagav, and Arkuma, Mala. Those are just like the starting point. Is that what and this is what the ending point? How does this fit in with those? We talked about
I think Toysa says. I think it goes into the halacha over here. Rashi says, "We hold the Gemara by Rashi. So it's the Chulin sounds like it's a different area, but you include that into the thing. I'm not sure if Rashi himself agrees with it or not. So that area, I mean, you see that there's 4 fingers. Okay, I don't know if that includes. In other words, these shitas agree, or they're talking about the length. That's like where it's starting. I'm not sure.
That's what it's at.
Where they're starting.
3 shitas were where it starts, and this is where it goes until. Maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they talk about the same shear of the last sheet. Okay, I'm not sure. The Tzayim Saginim is 3 joints. Chad Alimo, what are the mistake? The trach. This is actually, you see in the picture. Look at this one that's front of the picture, you see it clearly. One of them is thicker and the other 2 are thinner. If the thicker one gets torn, gets cut off, as the roiv binyan. Then the roiv binyan, it's the roiv, because it's the thicker one, is gone, and it's treif. If the ketini, you have the 2 thinner ones, as the roiv minyan. So the roiv minyan goes, that's the out of the 3, 2 are out. If seik alimo aika roiv minyan. If the alimo is cut, roiv minyan is good enough to be makshir. If the ketini aika roiv binyan. So if you have roiv binyan, you're good enough. When you speak about a bird, there's 16 strings or joints that are tzayim sagidim. If one of them is out, it's treifa. I was in front of my father. You brought him a bird. He checked. He sees only 15 joints. What is it? So it's a problem. He saw that one of them looked a little different than the others. Nafze, you opened it up. Bishkachet, you opened the layer that covered it, and you saw that there were 2 connected together. Tzayim Sagidim is beroiv. My beruboy. What does it mean, roiv? Beroiv echadem, meaning each one of the joints, if the roiv is out, it's ready treif. Says, well, why one should be the other 2? In other words, he says one is on, now there has to be 2. But if 2 are gone, then you have a problem. He holds, even if you have one small string left from the Tzuvah Zikkim is still kosher. In other words, he didn't say you need to have the roiv of the Tzuvah Zikkim. He says you have to have a roiv of each one. You have 3 joints, roiv of each one. So there's 3. If I have 3, each one has a third. It's good enough. Right, I don't have to have roiv of each one. So as long as you have something left, it's good enough. Good. The same. Continues the Gemara, it says, if the bone broke and you have the flesh, so it's good enough. Above the arkuva, which means here we're talking about there above the arkuva, is meaning the top third. If there's enough flesh, zev is mutter. So you're allowed to eat the limb and you're allowed to eat the bane. If not, if you're missing the top of the thigh, meaning the thigh, and you're missing not only it's cut with the flesh, meaning it's considered a bead, it doesn't have a thigh. So not only that the limb is usher, but the whole behemoth is usher. She's straightforward. Below the akuva, if you have enough flesh, so it's all good. The limb is also so he holds at a certain point, once you don't have the thigh, you are done. No. If you have a basar, everybody agrees it's mutter. The only issue you have is now that the behemoth becomes treifah, when you're missing the thigh. I'm not talking about tzuvah zikkim, but if you're missing, if it's broken, if the bone is broken, and you're missing the flesh, all you have, the problem is that it's not the behemoth is not treifah, but you can't eat the limb. According to you throw away the aver because you can't eat it, but you can eat the animal. People are going to say, look at it as being something strange. And according to the other shita, when you have the lower part of the leg, everybody agrees if it's cut off, you can't eat the limb, but you can eat the animal. All right, what about those say it's in the garbage? People look at it, you can't live without a thigh. So here it broke the bone and you're missing the flesh. You want to say only the thigh is a problem. It's going to look very strange to people. They said they were more machmir, and if the limb is cut above, the whole beim is also. Then they send another one. No, it's possibly like Shmuel, it's mutter. Then they send again, like Rav. And they added the Eber Atzmoy Mitalim Masu. Not only that we say the Eber is not mutter, but he has a tumor of nevelo. Right? Because tu is Masu. He's quoting a brayso that we saw before. The shchita of a treifo is mitayr her and the dwindling limb. In other words, it's not treifo. It's not going to be a nevelo. That's the end quote. So what do you see over here? You see that the shchita, the aver is not nevelo. You just said it is nevelo. Only Rabbi Aduria Pircho. Why are you running for some brayso? There's a clear Mishnah. He's quoting a Mishnah in Daf Kuf Chav Zayin. We quoted before. You shechted the animal. It's kosher. The kabel tumo with the blood of the animal. It's not kosher with the blood. But you see over here as a din of oichel. It's part of the behemoth. So you see that it's not considered to be nipul and cut off. This is we can answer. We said before. Today we're talking about the meat only, not about the whole limb. We're talking about the meat. So that we could say it's a basar klamar. The basar, or we don't have a din of basar perish minachai. But the bone, maybe not. So I don't want to bring it. That's why the Mishnah I can answer that. That's what it means. Talk about the meat. I want to bring a brayso which says clearly, Avratz, not only the meat. So I'm bringing this Shmuel that he says that if it's too high, the behemoth becomes nevel. Omeli Yishar, so he's very good. That's a Shmuel who's called Aryuch is Bovel. Aryuch Manu Shmuel. Why is he called Aryuch? Because the Aryuch was the name of a king, Rashi says, and we pass him like him. Aryuch Manu Shmuel. What do you mean? Shmuel disagrees with Rav. Shmuel, we just said, holds that the behemoth does not become nevel, does not become usher, only the limb is usher. Says Shmuel legabe the Rav. Shmuel changed his mind and he went out to agree with Rav. Okay, two more lines here in the Gemara. If there's a broken bone, as long as you have skin and flesh covering the majority of the bone, it's mutter. What's the roiv? The roiv of the thickness. The oiv. What does that mean? So Rashi learns the pshat is like this. Roiv the kefer means you have what's called the moyach, the what do you have inside the bone?
Marrow.
The marrow. So you have a bone. The marrow inside, that's called roiv the kefer. As long as you have that this bone, the circumference is covered, the ruboy, so then it's kosher. The other mandorma holds you need to be roiv the kefer. No, the kefer is circumference. The circumference is circumference. Roiv. So a child is, are you covering the inside part or are you covering the outside part? According to the mandorma that says,
I think the first time you look at the inside, in other words, you just look at the thing.
You look at the top, right? You look at the top. Is it covering the roiv? And according to the other mandorma,
halfway down,
or not?
Then it's roiv.
According to the mandorma, roiv the kefer is the one around. That's the machlekes. And what we're passing, you have to have enough meat around the top and the middle. That's what Rashi learns. Taisus learns a little differently. Taisus learns that it seems from Taisus that we're talking about just how much meat you need to have. So he says that it depends. If the bone is not an exact circle, it's a long bone. So then you can have a difference between it's two different circumferences. That's what it means. What are you covering? Are you covering the whole or are you covering the length? So Rashi learns a little different than Rashi. The Gemara says as long as you have meat, flesh around the bone, so then it's kosher. Once you don't have it, it's possible. What does it mean possible? So it depends where. That's what Samachlek is. That in certain areas, it can make, according to Rav, it makes the whole behemoth truthful. So stop over here and continue.